Hello, it's me, RachaelLyn, and today is Financial Friday, and today I'm going to talk about why I only have a $500 emergency fund. Okay, so first of all, let me explain, just in case you are not familiar with Dave Ramsey's baby steps. The first step of Dave Ramsey's baby steps in order to get out of debt and have financial freedom and live and give like no one else. The first step is to save an emergency fund. Typically, that emergency fund is about $1,000 because that is enough to cover most emergencies. He does recommend a $500 to $1,000 emergency fund, but most people need $1,000. Some people might need a little bit more, like if you know that you are going to be out of a job soon, or if you are going to have a baby soon, or if you are going to be moving, or, there's a lot of exceptions to that Dave is perfectly fine if you need a little bit more of a beefed up emergency fund, more than $1,000. I, however, only have a $500 emergency fund, and I wanted to tell you why. First of all, I don't have very many expenses. I have recently, within the last year, I moved home to live with my parents to save money. Originally, the plan was to save money so that I could have a down payment to buy a house. However, after being home for a few months, I got all my credit cards paid off, and then I realized, oh yeah, I've got these annoying little bugs over here that are my student loans that I thought were annoying little bugs, but turns out they are like huge, gigantic dinosaurs that I have to tackle, and I'm just kind of a little overwhelmed by that right now, but I'm still trying to figure out what my next steps will be in the next 1 to 2 years as far as how long I will be at home with my parents. But for right now, I have a $500 emergency fund because I don't have very many expenses. I do pay a slight amount for rent, which actually gets paid towards one of my student loans that my parents are covering as kind of like a trade-off, because instead of them paying that student loan and then me paying them, I just pay the student loan. So cut out the middle person, essentially. Plus the student loans, so they have to take it out of my account, or at least that's how I set it up. So they automatically take that out, and it's about $200, which is what I pay for rent, which is very minimal. I also don't pay other bills. I don't pay electricity. I don't pay water. I don't pay gas. I don't even pay for food, really. I do buy some food because my family does not eat very healthy, and I'm also on a weight loss journey, if you don't know about that. And so I do need to buy some of my own foods because I'm the only one in my family that really eats very healthily. So that's kind of on me, but still, that's a very minimal expense compared to how much I would pay if I had to buy all of my groceries for every meal. Another reason why I only have a $500 emergency fund is because now that I'm living back in my hometown, I have family here, and I have friends here, and I didn't necessarily have that before in my life because I've always lived away from family. I did have friends, but it's different being with family. I don't mind to ask my family to borrow money or to help me out in certain ways when certain friends, I don't know that I'd ever borrow money from them, just because I just think that's weird, and I think that Dave Ramsey would agree with me. He doesn't even want you borrowing money from your family, but my family would be fine with that. And I've done that many times, and it's never been like an issue. And hopefully it never is, which is what Dave warns against that. But if I needed that support, I would have that support from my family, and I know that 100% without a doubt, and that it would not be weird or anything like that. So I have lowered my emergency fund because I have that support. I have family. I live at home with my parents. We have 4 people that live in the house because my brother also lives with us. And we have 4 cars. We have 3 working cars, but hopefully the fourth one will be fixed soon. But even so, like 3 working cars for 4 people has yet to be a problem. So if something happened to my car, if I needed a huge repair that I just couldn't handle, didn't even have enough to, like, I couldn't even borrow from my parents because it's so big, or my car just completely kaputs out, then that wouldn't be a problem because, or gosh, even if I just needed to get it repaired and was out with a, you know, without a car for a day or two, which actually happened not too long ago. I didn't have my car for a couple of days, and I had a repair that needed to be done. But, you know, I had another car that I could use. So that was really convenient and very, very nice. And I remember about a year ago, I had not a major car repair, but it needed to be worked on for a day. And I didn't have a car. And I had to actually bum a ride from coworkers for a day, a couple days actually. So, that is why now I only have a $500 emergency fund, because my bills are not that expensive. I have family to help me out, take care of me, and provide extra transportation if there's something wrong with my car, because that is the number one most likely thing to go wrong. Also, along with living with my parents, if something were to go wrong with the house, or something like that, that's not on me. That is on my parents. It's their house. So, you know, if the plumbing went bad or the electricity went out and had to be completely restored, I wouldn't have to worry about that. And if I were renting, I wouldn't have to deal with that either. Not so much, but, you know, something like that could happen in an apartment, and then you'd be stuck without water or electricity for a couple of days if something had to be fixed. And there would be, you know, there'd be a little struggle with trying to figure out what to do, where to go, you know, how to get help if I was on my own. But I'm not on my own anymore, at least not for a while. Also, I only have $500 in my emergency fund because I have sinking funds, and sinking funds are like little savings for different things that you know are going to happen. So, like, I know that Christmas is coming. I know that my car is going to need to be worked on, if not anything but an oil change, or it's going to need a new battery eventually. It's going to need new tires eventually. I know that at some point something's going to happen. I have a sinking fund for a new laptop, because my laptop is starting to go, and I can tell because it's work. It takes a lot and works really, really hard, and I can hear it running really, really hard, and just to do even simple things sometimes. And the battery does not last. It's got to be plugged in pretty much all the time in order for me to use my laptop anymore. So I know that is going to go. And plus, my laptop is almost 5 years old, which is pretty old for a laptop. So I know that it's going to be going soon. So I have sinking funds for all those things. And so those kind of count towards my savings as well. Because I have these sinking funds, that means if I need a little extra money and I can't get it from anywhere else, I can always pull that from my sinking funds. If I needed something else, like a new laptop, because my laptop goes kaput, I can no longer make YouTube videos, and that would be very sad. And I would need a new laptop, and I would have to purchase one. Well, at least some of that money can come from my laptop fund in that event of an emergency. I'm not sure how much I would classify that as an emergency, but a laptop is something that I use every single day for both, not just YouTube and not just for fun things like watching Netflix or watching YouTube videos, but I also use it for work, and it is something that I would consider a necessity. But then, like my car repair fund, I have a sinking fund for that, for if I need car repairs or an oil change or tires replaced, or even if my car just completely goes out. I have a fund for that. So I wouldn't have to touch my emergency fund for that emergency, depending on how much money is in that fund. So if there's enough in there, it can cover it. I still have my emergency fund for something else, and just start restocking my sinking fund for car repairs. So essentially, I actually have way more than $500 in an emergency fund. I have, well, it's always changing because I'm adding to it, and different funds would qualify as different types of emergencies, such as my Christmas fund. I would, if I needed that money for a true emergency, I would take that money out in a heartbeat, and I would apologize to all my friends and family and say, I'm really sorry, but you get hugs, kisses, and a handmade card for Christmas, because I love you, but I have no money to spend. So if I absolutely had to do that, I would do that. But I have that fund there so that it doesn't have to come out of my main budget. It's just a little bit each month instead of like a whole lot at Christmas time. And it also serves partially as an emergency fund. If I absolutely had to use that money, I could use that money. So I actually have a lot more than $500. I'm covered for different things depending on what I need. So while I have a $500 emergency fund, I actually don't, but I do. And so there's a lot of reasons why I would side with Dave and recommend that if you are on your own, living on your own, or, you've got things coming up or things like that, I would suggest definitely have $1,000 in an emergency fund. I would say if you know that things are coming up, like if your family's changing or moving, having a baby, or your car, that your car is gonna go kaput like any second, have a slightly larger emergency fund. That's okay. You need to set your emergency fund to suit your needs. Mine suits my needs, and I like having it small so that I can have other money delegated elsewhere, because I don't foresee a big emergency, because I don't have to worry about most of that stuff. If I lost my job, or I got hurt on the job, or things like that, that would be an emergency. But I have a place to live, and I have a place, I have family to help take care of me and take me places and things like that. So I don't really have to worry too much about those things, which is really, really nice. And it sounds great, but then just think about this. I'm living with my parents and my brother. So there's a trade-off there. I love my parents. I love my brother. I miss my privacy. I miss having my own space, and I miss a lot of that. So there is a trade-off, and a cost trade-off, I guess you could call it that. But I also get extra family time. I mean, I haven't lived at home. Well, I did live at home for a short stint for a few months in 2013, just before I started YouTube. And before that, I hadn't lived at home since I was, my first year in college. After that, I was gone, and I stayed gone. So it's been a long time, and there's definitely some trade-offs. And I love having the family time, and I love being with my family, but I also miss having my own place. I'm here at the park talking to you in my car because I want that privacy between us, and not at home. So, anyway, that is really all of the reasons why I have a $500 emergency fund instead of $1,000. Let me know what you think about Dave Ramsey and his baby steps if you know anything about it. I'd like to know what kind of emergency fund you have for yourself. If you don't have an emergency fund, get one. You need an emergency fund. You need to have cash, not necessarily cash, but like some kind of easily accessible money in the bank that you can get to in case of an emergency. And a sale at Kohl's is not an emergency. So let me know what your emergency fund is. Is it more than $1,000 because you feel unsecure about certain situations? You don't have to go into detail unless you want to, but let me know if you have an emergency fund, how much it is, if you're willing to share that. Is it less than what Dave recommends because you know that you know that things are secure? Is it more than what Dave recommends just because you want more, or just because you feel insecure? You don't have to go into detail again unless you want to, but I just like that conversation and talking to you about it and trying to figure this whole financial thing out. Give me a like for really thinking through my emergency fund and how much I really feel like I need. And also share this video with anybody that you think might benefit from learning about emergency funds. And I know I didn't go into great detail, but I feel like I covered the basics here. And then also, if you are not already, please think about subscribing. I post videos. If you don't know, I post videos about my financial journey to get out of my student loan debt. And I post those on Friday, but it's basically a part of my everyday life. I'm also on a weight loss journey. Honestly, mostly for financial reasons. I'm trying to win money by losing weight in diet bets. And plus, I know that it's good for me, even if I don't want to do it. I know that I need it. So I do that. So I post about that on Wednesdays, Financial Fridays, and then I post a little bit on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays about all kinds of different things. Sometimes it's weight loss related, sometimes it is financial related and debt related, and sometimes it's just anything, whatever it is that I want to talk about, or it could be anything. So if that sounds interesting to you, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on Monday for Monday Madness. That's just kind of where I post anything. It could be anything, and I have no idea what I'm going to do on Monday. So because I am filming this early, I'm so proud of myself. I'm usually like way behind. So I hope that you will join me in the next one, and I will see you then. Bye.